Hi, welcome back. In this session, we are going to discuss about the basic data types in Python. When we are talking about data types, it is not only in coding language, but we can see the data types even in our spoken languages like English. For example, if you are seeing in English, it has two main data types. The one in the left side there is called the alphabets or the class with alphabets, which has all the alphabets, symbols, and the sentence words, everything. And on the right side, we have a second data type is numbers. It contains the whole numbers, decimal numbers, negative numbers, everything. So these two data types in common English language have its own character or unique characters. The alphabets can be mainly used for communication and the numbers mainly used for mathematical operations. Similarly, when we are coming to Python, there are mainly three data types in the main. The first one is nothing but the alphabets, but the same thing, it has alphabets, symbols, and words, everything, and it is used for communication. That data type we call it as strings in Python. And the second and third is nothing but whole numbers and decimal numbers. But in English, it is a broad classification as numbers. But when it comes to Python, they divide it into two mainly: whole numbers and decimal numbers. And in Python, we call the whole number as integer and decimal number as float. That means in conclusion, we can say there are mainly three data types in Python. The first one is strings, which is used for communication, and second is for mathematical operations, second and third, that is integers and float, which are nothing but whole numbers and decimal numbers. We also have other data types in Python, but these three are the main basic data types we should know to understand the concept of Python. So the next is there how to represent this thing in Python. So first we will see how to represent a string in Python. For example, I have a string, Python is easy. So there are two methods to represent it. The first is I'll use a double quote, a pair of double quote, and within the double quote I will enter the string. Suppose Python is easy is a string I want to enter. So I will open a double quote, start a double quote, type the sentence Python is easy, and close or end with a double quote. Similarly, the second method is I will use a single quote, start a single quote, enter the sentence, and end with a single quote. But we should not use the combination of these two methods. For example, in the right side, I start with a double quote, then enter the string and end with a single quote. That will give an error. Similarly, I cannot use a single quote and double quote here. So let's have a look how that can be written in actual Python code. So here to write the code, I'm using Jupyter Notebook, but the same code can be written or can be run in Python ID, normal standard Python ID or traditional Python ID or Pycharm or Visual Studio Code or anything. So the command is print, and print is nothing but it is a command in Python to display anything, to show anything. So we use the command print. And one more important thing, all the words in the print is lowercase. There should not be a capital letter, uppercase letter here. It will give an error. So now in the print command, how it works, when the print and we are giving two parentheses. So whatever we are giving within this parenthesis, print, open the parenthesis and close the parenthesis, and within this parenthesis or within this bracket, whatever we are giving, that will get displayed. So I want to display this word Python is easy. So I'm writing print, then I'm typing there Python is easy. Now actually this is a string. So how to represent that string? I will open a double quote here and end with a double quote. Now the next is that I can use the run command here in Jupyter Notebook. Instead of I am typing pressing shift enter, that is the short key for run this cell. So shift enter, so it run, the line got executed and Python is easy got displayed here. Now I will use a second method, that is with a single quote. So print again, open the parenthesis, and within the parenthesis I start a single quote, then typing Python is easy, then close with a single quote. So there is a single quote I will start, Python is easy, I will end with a single quote, and all together are within this parenthesis for the print. Then I am running this line. So it got printed. Print is easy. It again printed. Now I will try the other method, the combination of the both the methods. So again print, open the parenthesis, start with a double quote and type Python is easy, end with a single quote. Now let's see what it will give an output. So if I'm running this code, it will give an error. That means the combination will not work. So always use a single quote pair or a double quote pair to represent a string. Next, we will see about how to represent an integer and a float. So integer and float, we don't need a method of adding a double string or single string. We can directly enter that into Python code. That means if I am typing 200, this will consider as an integer. If I am putting a minus 200, it will be again an integer, a negative integer. And if I am putting a decimal number there, it will automatically convert or consider as a float. Similarly, if I am putting 200.5, any decimal number which will be considered as a float. So let's have a look how it is actually. So I am taking print, open the parenthesis, and within the parenthesis I am just entering 200 here. So if I'm printing, it automatically got printed. It will not show any error. Now I am putting a negative int, print, open the parenthesis, and minus 350, a new number. So again it got printed, so that means no error for that. So now I am entering a float. So print float is nothing but a decimal number. So 500.5. Run this command is showing 500.5 it displayed, and another print a negative float minus 6.89. So another float or another decimal, if I'm running this code, it's showing that output. So that is how we represent a integer and a float. And if you are representing a string, it is nothing but we will use a single quote or double quote. Now next we will see how to check the data type. For example, I have a data type here, Python, Python, Python. So how to check that data type? The command is actually type. Type means it's a short form for data type. Type and open the parenthesis, and within the parenthesis we will give whatever we want to check. For example, I am giving a string Python, just a string, and I'm running this code. What it will give? It will give a string str. That means this is a string. And one more thing, in Jupyter notebook this will give a direct output, but if you are running a traditional Python IDE, you have to give a print for display that for like that. For example, I'm writing print all these things, we will type all together, type Python, then all these things should be given to the print. That means print, open the parenthesis, and within that parenthesis I have to give this, then only this will get displayed. It should be like this. Then if you run this, it will give class string, it will print it as it's a class string. Now similarly, instead of that, if I am using another type, open the parenthesis, I am giving an integer here, a 500. So I'm running this code, it will show int. And if I am giving a float, suppose type a float 5.89. Let's see what it is giving. It is a float. So this is the method to check what is the data type here. The command is type, then open the parenthesis, and within that we had to give that. And in the traditional Python, we had to give that print command also to show the result here. So that is the method to check what data type it is. Now next we will see the conversion. If this is a string, we know this, sorry, this is an integer, 200 is an integer and 200.5 is a float. So if I am enclosing this 200 with a single quote or double quote, what it will become? So it automatically converted into a string. That means this cannot be used for mathematical operations. So before that, we will just have a look on that also. So if I'm writing print some mathematical operation 500 plus 500, within the print only I am using that, so I'll get the output of that. That means this is the integer. So print again 50.5 plus 5. If we run, I will get the output. So this is two mathematical digits or integers and floats, so we can do the mathematical operations here. But when we are putting a single quote here, it automatically converted into a string, and this cannot be used for a mathematical operation. It is, we can compare that with an English. In English also 200 can be written in a digit and 200 with words also. This is a string or an alphabet. Similarly, this is 200, but this is a string format of that. So let's check that how this how it will work. For example, I am checking the data type. So type of 200. Now when I am checking, it is showing integer. Now I am again type open the parenthesis, and I am giving a comma 200. That means it now become a string. So let's check what is a data type. So it is showing it is now become a string, not an integer. And again, if I'm taking type 200, it will again is an integer. Now we will try to do a mathematical operations with this string. So that is print and 200 plus 200. If you are running this, we'll get 400. So one of the 200 I am going to convert it into a string. So open the uh, single quote and close the single quote. So this become a string, this become 200 digit. So when it's showing, it will show that it cannot be done because one is an integer and another is a string, cannot be used for mathematical operations. So this is very important. If you put a single quote or double quote, it or float or integer, it will automatically convert it into a string. Now the next is that we have other data types also in Python, which is we will learn in the following sections. These three we have seen: the main, integer, strings, and float. And the next is that a part of collection, that is dictionary, tuple, set, and list, that we will see in detail in the next few classes. And the other things are Boolean operations, binary, and none. That also we will be familiar when we are going forward in the next few